Are you looking to work in the United States and have an employer that is willing to sponsor you? In this video, we'll talk about the EB-3 green card visa category. This is the most common way for any employee, skilled, unskilled, young professional, or somebody that does not hold an advanced degree to get a job in the United States and a sponsor. Once again, the EB-3 category is the most common way for any employee to get sponsored by an employer and start working in the United States. So if you're interested in this topic, if you're looking for a job in the United States, if you're an employer looking to hire an employee, this video is for you, and I'll see you on the other side. Hello everybody, and welcome back to Immigration Channel. This is the place where you get the most up-to-date immigration news, immigration information, and everything else that you need to make your immigration journey less stressful. My name is Jacob Sapochnick, and I'm an immigration attorney located in San Diego, California, and I help clients in all 50 states and all over the world. In this video, we'll talk about the EB-3 green card category. This is the most common way for any employee to be able to work in the United States through an employer, and this is the most common way for employers to sponsor employees. We'll talk about all the requirements, who qualifies for EB-3, the process, and if you can bring your family with you as well. So before we do that, if you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos, and also give us a big like so YouTube will be able to show this video to more people just like you. The EB-3 green card category is a third preference for skilled, professional, or other workers looking to be sponsored in the United States. The EB-3 requirements are less strict than the EB-1 that is reserved for exceptional ability individuals, or EB-2 individuals that have advanced degree or other special skills. If you don't have any of those, the EB-3 is the category for you to be able to get a green card based on employment in the United States. So what are some of the requirements to qualify for the EB-3 category? Let's start with somebody who's considered to be a skilled worker. To be considered to be a skilled worker, you need 2 years of professional experience. It can be professional experience, it could be training on the job, or education on the job like post-secondary education. Some countries offer that. If you're applying as a professional under the EB-3 category, you have to have a bachelor degree. You have to have a bachelor degree or the equivalent. Typically, it's 5 years experience, and it's done through a credential evaluation agency that can see if your experience is equivalent to your education. And finally, if you're an unskilled worker, and that's why the EB-3 is so popular, because if you don't have education, if you don't have so much experience, you can still get sponsored by your employer if you're unskilled, as long as you have 2 years of training or experience in the field of employment, and that should be sufficient for you to qualify as an unskilled worker to be sponsored by an employer. Like I said, we've done a lot of individuals in the construction industry that are coming as supporting roles, and they come in green cards sponsored as unskilled labor. The most important thing as well, in addition to these requirements, is that it has to be a full-time job offer. You cannot do a seasonal job, you cannot do a part-time sponsorship for a green card. It has to be a full-time job that the employer is willing to offer and can prove that he can do that. So what is the process to apply for the EB-3 green card category? Essentially, there are 2 things that you have to do. First of all, the employer has to get a labor certification from the Department of Labor to prove that there are no U.S. citizens that are being affected by the hiring of this foreign national. Essentially, in this process, the U.S. employer tests the U.S. labor market by putting ads in different publication sources, and then based on the demand, they'll be able to show to the Labor Department that, listen, there's no U.S. workers who are able to do this job. We need to get this labor certification approved so we can move and file this case with the U.S. Immigration Service. One of the most important parts of the PERM labor certification process is that the employer must obtain a prevailing wage determination from the Labor Department. This is essentially the future wage that this position must carry. This is the future wage that the employer must pay this employee once they get the green card. So for example, if you're coming to be sponsored as an electrician, for example, you're going to be working for Phoenix, Arizona, and the current salary for that is $65,000. The employer must prove that they have the ability to pay the salary when the employee eventually is going to get his green card. It's really important to abide by these rules, because if the employer is not able to afford the salary, the whole labor certification process will fail from day one. Currently, labor certification takes anywhere between 9 to 12 months unless there's an audit. Once the labor certification is approved, then the employer can move forward and file the I-140 immigrant visa petition. Now remember that this is possible to do in 2 ways. You can file just the I-140 for the employee. If the employee is not in the United States, that petition can be approved, and then that employee can go ahead, if their visa numbers are current, to apply for their immigrant visa at the US Embassy abroad. But if this employer is already inside the United States, let's say they work in a different visa, H1 or an E2 or whatever the visa that they're here, if their priority date is current, and remember, when you go to the visa bulletin, you can see that EB1, EB2, EB3, they have different priority dates to different countries. In recent months, EB3 has been current for most countries in the world except from China and India, which means that if you're not from China or India and you apply under the EB3, you'll be able to currently also file your adjustment of status if you're inside the United States, which is a great advantage for a lot of employees that are currently here on a different status. For example, we had a case where somebody was here as a student and they were applying as an unskilled labor for position. So while they were going to school here, the employer already started the green card process. So by the time they were done with school, the perm application was already certified. They were going through filing the I-140, and at that same time, because the dates were current, they could file for their adjustment of status at the same time. So they didn't need to be sponsored for another work visa. They could move straight from the student visa to the green card application at that time. So again, it's really important to assess where you are in the process. Are you inside the United States? Are you currently here on a visa? Are you overseas? To determine the process of the EB-3. Now, if you're married and you come with a family, your family can join you as well. They can all benefit from the green card. If they're here, they can adjust status with you. If your family is overseas, they'll be able to apply for their immigrant visa as soon as your I-140 is approved inside the United States. The I-140 is also known as the immigrant visa. But the EB-3 it's much less strict than the EB-1 or EB-2 visa, which means that you have to prove less things. You have to prove less requirements. You don't need a master's degree. You need to have all these accomplishments, awards, prizes. All you need is your experience or education, depending if you're applying as a skilled with just a few years experience, as a professional with a bachelor degree, or as unskilled based on the experience that you have in this particular job, right? So it's much less complicated to qualify for the EB-3, which is why it's the most popular category to get people their green cards through employment. So once again, if you are currently going through the process of thinking about getting a green card for an employer and you're not sure which category, think carefully about the EB-3. It's a really popular category which a lot of people could qualify if done correctly. Also, if you're in the healthcare profession, like nurses, physical therapists, they also qualify under the EB-3 category. There used to be a schedule called Schedule A. Right now, nurses just simply file under the EB-3 category. They don't have to go through the labor certification process. It's an exception. They go straight to the I-140, which saves them quite a few years of the process, and that's how hospitals get nurses to work in the United States. So if you are currently looking for a job, if you're going to a negotiation with your employer, if you're an employer looking for somebody to work for you and you want to sponsor them for the green card, EB-3 possibly could be one of the best ways to do so. If you need my help, you text me right here, 619-483-4549. I'm here to help you with all immigration processes, specifically employment-based cases. Once again, any questions, post them in the comments below. And thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.